Yeah, so there's a third. And so this one, it was embedded, but when I sent it over, it was not loading for her. So there's an actual third presentation on this.
So do we need it or not?
It's up to you. They have the handouts.
Okay. So it's not this that's up right now?
That's just the cover sheet.
So- Okay, I'm a little bit confused. What is it missing that the other one has?
So there's 4 PowerPoints altogether, right?
Oh.
So inside of this, so this PowerPoint is this, right?
Okay.
And then when you open up, the contents is that, and then this is just the image. But if you were to double click on that in the other version, if it was working properly, then all of this would pop up, which is our stats and like media from last year's event. And I don't think she got that because it was having trouble loading. Or you know what? I did send it separately as a PDF.
So this is the other one that I got.
Yeah.
And then we got.
I will. Walkowitz.
Okay.
So it would have been a PDF.
There you go.
I don't
That's
have.
That's how I'm gonna remember how to say it.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Okay, he's gonna do that, so you can put that on there, Joe.
Hello. I'd like to call the Economic Development Committee meeting to order, September 2nd, 2021, 5 o'clock. Is there any courtesy of the floor? Seeing none. We will move on to presentation regarding Steel Weekend and Steelworkers Reunion 2021.
Hello, we have Kara Mossinger from the National Museum of Industrial History today to talk about the museum and also about Steel Weekend. And we also have Susan Vitez here. She's from the Steelworkers Archives.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So you have in front of you all the documents that we're going to be talking about today, and hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at the electronic versions that were sent previously. I don't want to get too much into detail about the last CAST debrief report, but I am going to bring it up. And the reason why I want to just quickly talk about this is because this is really the impetus for creating this event every single year. So last year, the reason why we had this event was because it was the 25th anniversary of the last cast at Bethlehem Steel, the last time that they poured hot steel on the site. And dating back to 2019, before the pandemic, when everything was, sunshine and roses, it was actually Arts Quest who had come to us, a number of organizations, and it was going to be at their site because they had a large number of resources, and it was going to be much bigger. So fast forward to 2020, and we're getting closer to the time, and everything is changing. The gentleman who was in charge had moved on from his job, and so Steelworkers Archives with Susan and National Museum of Industrial History had decided we had to do it outdoors because of the pandemic. So we hosted it at our site. And I have to say that even though the vaccine was not out and the demographic was a high-risk category, people came out and they were very respectful. Everybody wore masks, they social distanced, and it just showed that they were so anxious to come together and reunite with former steelworkers, with their families, and everybody kept saying, you have to do it again, you have to do it again. So it was pretty easy decision for Susan and the museum. And so every year we plan to do this. And we were already, as a museum, celebrating Steel Day and then Steel Weekend. So we have moved it now to September. It'll be the end of September. I'm going to flip over now real quick to the PowerPoint. And so what we started doing actually at the very tail end of 2020, or actually 2021 in the beginning, we started meeting already to start talking about what it was going to look like this year. And we decided we wanted it to be a weekend affair. And so We talked about the theme. We came up with Innovations of Steel. We created a committee, and then from there, we created subcommittees. And at this point now, we're only a few weeks away, and we have a full slate of programming, which includes family and youth programming. It includes actually the president of AISC, and we already have a number of sponsors that have already signed up to support us. And we have a band.
TNT.
This gentleman who just happened to be walking by as we were moving an artifact out of number 2 machine shop, and he used to work for the Steel, and he and his son are in a band with a third person, and so we reeled him in, and he said he would play for us with just travel cost reimbursed. So again, we've got programming from 9 until 5 on both days, and what had happened with that was because it is also Steelworkers Archive's 20th anniversary, they were planning to do something on their own, and as we were planning this, they felt like it was too much, and so I felt like we kind of took over. And so I wanted to give them the space at the museum to be able to do something, and what better time to do it, which was Steel Weekend. So this is the uses, which is basically the budget of the expenses. We kept it very minimal, and you know, the lecture series, anybody that is coming to speak, even the gentleman from AISC, he has all his travel costs is in kind. We will have a sponsor preview night, and everything has already been secured, and everything's already in the works. So we're really looking forward to it. And the only thing is, and I respectfully, with Susan's support as well, would request to fill this remaining gap. We do have a couple of weeks left, and we do have some requests out to additional sponsors, but at this point now, if we had an additional $5,000 from the county, it would really help us a lot. And just one last note here, which is about 2022 and beyond. So Hank Barnett, who is the chair emeritus, not only for Bethlehem Steel, but also for the museum. I just had a conversation with him yesterday, and he said what he wants to see is that year after year it continues to grow, and it's not just Bethlehem, it's Sparrows Point, it's folks coming from Buffalo, from Ohio, all the different sites. And I have to say that we actually did get a call in the summertime from somebody in, it was Sparrows Point. And he asked, he said, are you guys running that again? Because me and my friends are interested in coming up. So we are hoping that we can kind of bring this together on an annual basis every single end of September, and everybody will know that that's when we're going to do it. So that's my presentation. But if you wanted to add anything to that, and then otherwise I'll sit and have you.
Okay. Well, Steelworkers Archives will be participating in the Steel Weekend and Steelworkers Reunion in a number of ways. Not only are we co-sponsoring, but we will be having additional tours, walking tours of the plant site and the Hoover Mason Trestle. And one of our members, who's a professional photographer, Ed Leskin, is going to have an outdoor photo exhibit where he's going to have very large images of steelworkers that will be placed at certain locations outside of the museum. And then part of the ceremony, the opening ceremony, which would be on Saturday the 25th around 11 o'clock, will be celebrating our 20th anniversary. So we'll have there's a video that's being made, and we'll have some, special talks about the history of the Steelworkers Archives. So we encourage you to visit us on September 25th and 26th at the National Museum of Industrial History. Many events outdoors.
Thank you for the presentation. Is there any questions for the presentators? Well, again, thank you for coming out and giving us this presentation, and we wish you the best of luck. I look forward to seeing you down there.
And again, my name is Susan Vitez, and I'm a board member and a coordinator of Steelworkers Archives, and I'm also third generation Bethlehem Steel. So the presentation that we're doing today is about the Steeples and Steel tours. So I'm giving an overview, and if you have any questions at the end, we'll address them. But first of all, too, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present information about Steeples and Steel. The Steeples and Steel tours are mini bus tours that we present in conjunction with Northampton County and South Bethlehem Historical Society. And I see that's advancing. These tours take visitors through the neighborhoods of the south side of Bethlehem, and we're paying tribute basically to the era of immigration from the late 1800s through early 1900s. So you're going to see churches, you're going to see the plant site, and one of the main things I wanted to present here, as I see this is going through pretty quickly, would be the collaboration. As you saw, all the churches that we visit, all the cemeteries that we visit. We have an open house for 2 hours each tour date, and we bring a lot of organizations together to present displays, sell ethnic baked goods, etc. We have tourists from a very broad region, as that flipped by very quickly. Many counties in Pennsylvania, states outside of Pennsylvania, and several countries, including Hungary and Turkey. What this was supposed to be, and this worked other places, I had a nice video clip of Danny Roebuck talking about the Steeples and Steel tours. He had been a tourist in June of 2019, and he was interviewed by Channel 39 in the auditorium lobby of St. John's Windish Lutheran Church, which, by the way, is the, quote, home base for our tours. The tourists gather there in the parking lot and come back for lunch. We do have either the steelworkers overtime lunch, which you may have heard about earlier, or Eastern European goulash made by members of St. John's. So I don't know why that's not coming, but the video clip of Danny Roebuck does encourage people to come and, you know, take the tours with all the rich history that's presented. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank Northampton County for funding the tours through the years, and we very much look forward to offering the tours again in 2022. We couldn't do it last year and this year due to the pandemic, but we are looking forward to restarting. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, John.
Yeah, one quick one. Do you have a relationship with Discover Lehigh Valley in any way?
A very good question. We prepare packets of information, tourist-related information, that we give out to all the tourists. And I go around gathering, you know, from Arts Quest and Discover Lehigh Valley. That book that they put out every year, that's in every packet.
Okay,
So
good.
every tourist gets that. And then as we move through our season, I get whatever, I, you know, run around collecting the pamphlets, flyers, rack cards, whatever, for things that are coming up.
And since you mentioned immigration, historically, those churches, what were the typical immigrant groups that, I kind of know this, but for the folks at home, what were the immigrant groups that came to work at Bethlehem Steel?
Depending what we read, there could be 40-plus to 60-plus different ethnic groups. The churches, I don't know, can I go back to this? No, wait. Going back to the churches that I mentioned, well, St. John's Windish Lutheran Church, and the Windish are from, at the time, from the Kingdom of Hungary, and now our people are in modern-day Slovenia, the same as St. Joe's, the Roman Catholic Church. St. Peter's and Holy Ghost were ethnic German. Concordia Lutheran Church, Slovak. It was St. John the Baptist formerly, and then they changed it to Concordia. Holy Infancy, when that started, I guess there were a lot of Irish, and now it's a very mixed congregation. Incarnation of Our Lord, Roman Catholic Church, that had been St. Cyril and Methodius Catholic Church, which was a Slovak Catholic. And then when the diocese closed some churches in 2008, 5 churches came together then as Incarnation of Our Lord, and they worship in the church that was St. Cyril and Methodius. That was the Italian Catholic Church, the, let's see, Polish, St. Stanislaus. So there's the Polish, I mentioned the Windish already. So those are some of the groups. Hungarian, St. John Capistrano, that too then came into Incarnation of our Lord. So you had a lot of, I guess, early immigration. There may have been two waves, Germans and Hungarians, and some Windish came earlier in the 1800s, and then another wave when my grandparents came, all four grandparents, around 1912.
Thank you, it's good to know the history sometimes.
Yes, Mr. Ernst.
Yeah. I think everybody here probably knows. I'm really excited about this because I'm Windish.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. And no one knows what Windish is.
I know, it's sort of.
I'm just like, yes, I'm Windish. Yeah, that's me.
And then someone came up with Hungarian Slovenes. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh, that's pretty good, because it was Hungary at the time. My grandparents came, and then after World War I, everything,
Yeah.
got redrawn.
I had two different waves of grandparents come over, one from Hungary and one from like Austria-Hungary.
Okay,
And they were the Windish. They lived right near St. John's Windish Lutheran Church
Okay.
on Morton Street.
Morton, all right.
And, we used to go down to the Windish Social Hall when it was still open. And still, that's where my parents had their wedding reception. And so this brings back a lot of memories for me from my childhood. I have heard through the grapevine that there are records that are still stored in one of the churches that you mentioned. And that a gentleman named Ron Harry, do you know?
Yes, Ron, oh, yes. Mhm.
Yes, Ron Harry curates a lot of that, or has curated a lot of that information in the past. Is that accurate or nay?
I really don't know about the information, but I know he has a lot of memorabilia,
Yeah.
a lot of photos, from way back.
So when you go on the tour, can you look at that kind of archived information?
The tours don't look at the information. When we do the tours, it's constructed as maybe in two parts, a bus tour through the neighborhoods, and then when we stop at a church or cemetery, it's for about 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a guide that, presents. And I've done presentations on Niskey Hill Cemetery and St. Cyril and Methodius Cemetery. So that's about 20 minutes of the first leg of the journey, and then the second hour is on the Hoover Mason Trestle. Then we all come together at St. John's, which, by the way, I'm third-generation member of St. John's Windish Lutheran, so I am Windish also. And we have either the goulash luncheon, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to, or the steelworkers overtime lunch, which we did a recreation of what the steelworkers received when they worked so many hours overtime at Bethlehem plant. Even down to the tiger cheese wedge, which we can't get anymore.
That's so funny.
So if there's anyone interested in archives, I would say that they could contact the church office, any church office, and see what is available.
Any one of these? Like, I think it was what did you say? Cyril.
St. Cyril, that was
Yeah,
now
and
Incarnation
Methodius.
of our Lord, so that is 5, technically maybe 4 or 5 that came together. St. Joseph's Roman Catholic Church had, if you followed it, petitioned to the Vatican, so we were able to have some services at the church, funerals and the feast day mass in March,
Okay.
and tours.
And when do you perceive that these tours will begin again?
I'm thinking probably maybe summer, fall of next year. Once everyone's more comfortable in being on buses, and also to schedule the tours, I look at St. John's schedule to make sure, there's nothing else like bingo, for example, on a Saturday. And then I also,
Because bingo is a real conflict.
yes, we can't wait to start bingo again.
That's a real showstopper. You know what I mean? Like, people love their bingo.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know when it is.
Yeah. Well, no, because God willing, I'd love to take one of those tours and
Right. So-
learn more about
Yeah,
that.
and like I said, I was thinking maybe it's the summer through fall. We're thinking of having 3 tours, to restart with 3. Usually we had 4. And also I have to see the schedule then, when Arts Quest post a schedule in the beginning of the year. I study that to see when there are street closures at the plant site, because then I know we can't schedule tours, we can't get the bus through.
Right.
So it's weighing both the street schedule and the church schedule, so
Yeah,
it's
interesting. Thank you.
welcome. Does
Thank
anyone
you.
else
Is
have
is
questions?
there any other questions for the president? Thank you for all you do for our community and keeping our history alive. We really appreciate you doing this for the steelworkers, and thank you again. And,
I have one.
oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
While we're
McGee.
getting into this, the Holy Infancy, was that the school there too, right at the church? Do you know that?
Right, there is a school across the street from the church, and I
Like the old
understand,
Becca back in the day, right?
right, that used to be Bethlehem Catholic High School, the original Bethlehem Catholic High School. And now the church, the school relocated pre-pandemic, I guess, everything now is like pre-pandemic, to what was the school at St. Cyril and Methodius.
Okay,
So that building is now the Holy Infancy School.
thank
And
you.
I think a developer may have purchased the building on 4th Street that housed them previously.
Yeah, I might have heard something about that too. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? And those overtime lunches, sandwiches were made at the country club, the Silver Creek Country Club down in Howardtown and delivered to the overtime steelworkers. So they were getting some pretty good sandwiches, I suppose.
Right.
Anyway, thank you again.
If I can just add to that, Ron Harry, you
Ron
mentioned,
Harry.
he used to make sandwiches, like when there'd be
Oh, yeah.
snow days and he was a teacher and he wouldn't have school, he would be called in to help make sandwiches
Yeah,
at
he
the
was really
Steel
good.
Club. And then in later years, they were made, the sandwiches and the lunches were put together at Goosey Gander,
Yeah.
Oh, I remember
right,
Goosey
at the
Gander,
end,
too.
sure.
4th Street.
And I remember Ron Harry making strudel.
Yes.
Big, huge things of strudel.
I know.
Pulling
Yep.
out the dough, I mean,
Well,
it
he-
was like a to-do.
It's authentic, and he participates in our open house too with many baked goods.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
Yeah. Can always get to people through food, right?
Heck, yeah.
Thank you very much again for this opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, I guess if I'm correct, we're going to do a presentation by the National Museum of Industrial History.
Yes, thank you. So, just bring this one up. And again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to discuss the update on what's going on at the National Museum of Industrial History. I know I've seen some of you down at our site. If you haven't been. Oh, I'm sorry. Kara Mossinger, President and CEO of the National Museum of Industrial History in Bethlehem. So in recent months, actually, we've had a lot of activity. So August 3rd, we had our ribbon cutting ceremony. But this has been a long time in the works. So our first grant actually came from the county to be able to start this park project. And that was back in 2018. And I think you'll see through this presentation, there's county money throughout the museum. And it really has helped us to get to the point where we're at. I actually started at the museum as the CFO in 2015, part-time, and I took over as the president in 2017. And I can tell you the first few years were extremely difficult. You know, not only a nonprofit, but also a startup. So I have to say that the county's support has definitely guided us through some tough times. And with the opportunity for this expansion, especially now with the park being outdoors at such a pivotal point with the pandemic, people coming out and feeling comfortable being outdoors, it's really made a big difference for us. Our numbers, well, I'll get to the numbers in a second. So just a quick update on the history of the support that we've already received from the county. So it actually started before we opened with a $25,000 grant that we received. And if you come down to our site, the whole entire plaza, all those pavers were paid for from county money. We wouldn't be able to have any kind of gathering space at all for the past 5 years without that money. Foundry Park, as I mentioned, there was a couple of grants that went into that. It started in 2018 with a demonstration pad. We had additional funding from other sources, and today we were able to open it up to the public. And it not only serves as an additional exhibit space for the public, but it's actually like a sign because nobody can find us. But now with everything kind of organized in such a way with a nice striking black fence, it grabs everybody's attention, and we hear all the time, I didn't even know you were here. I lived in Bethlehem all my life. I didn't know you were here. Which leads me to my next. You also helped us with some signage. I'll show you a quick picture of that. So along the side of the building, we have these banners, and then also on the front of the building as well, we had some state money that went into this, but that at night lights up. This is kind of a dark day that we took this picture, but that sign makes a huge difference. Without that, nobody knew who we were or what we were. Marketing and advertising over the course of 2 years, it was basically our entire budget for marketing and advertising, so that helped us to get the word out about different events or our changing exhibits. We did that through TV ads, we did it through billboards and regular print ads, and then printed media. And then through Grow Norco, we also had, we were able to install, and I think I have an image of that as well right here, our safety barrier that sits at the front desk. And so that not only helped our visitors feel safe, it helped our staff feel safe and our volunteers. So without that money, I don't think that we would have felt good about our staff. I know would not have felt very safe opening up without some of these things implemented, including the HEPA filters, which were brand new and helped our system. So I want to thank you for that. So Foundry Park, this was the big celebration. Actually, Executive McClure had given a speech at that, and it was well attended, I felt, especially since it was still during the pandemic. But you can see here where the funding came from. Northampton County providing 15% of that funding over the course of those years. And, you know, as I said, it started 2018. What better year to open it up than now? So if you haven't, please come down, and it basically will take you through the process of raw materials to making steel and show you how that's done. And we actually have demonstrations and working artifacts. So that train that you see in the picture right there, that actually runs on the first and third Saturday of every month, and you can actually drive it yourself if you want. So it's pretty neat. And it's a narrow gauge, 1942 from Bethlehem Steel, and just like the ones that used to run through the property. So, and there's some images of the Foundry Park from above. You can see we actually had some funding to put the pavilion in that came from a corporate sponsor. And you can see some of the artifacts there. And we also have, down in the right-hand corner, the Veterans, Steelworkers Veterans Memorial that used to sit at 3rd and Polk, but because they were building that garage there, we have moved it to our site. So again, another collaborative partnership that we're happy to have. Every Veterans Day now, they will be having their program there, and actually Don Trexler will be giving a lecture about how that memorial came to be for this November. And then upcoming, some of the things, well, just to round out the park, one of the things that we have to do, I circled it right here. We internally as a staff keep calling it closing the loop. And this is because if you see that in the top right-hand corner, there's that tree. This plane tree was planted approximately 100 years ago, a very popular tree at the time that they were planting around Bethlehem. And where we plan to have the concrete walkway for visitors to go around, it cannot sit on top of the roots, it would kill the tree. So the engineer, when he did the drawings, had drawn an aluminum grating, and it was just way out of our budget. It was $80,000. So we decided we're just gonna have to keep it as is. So it's kind of, you just have to kind of stop. And then we didn't put any signage there, so we're trying to keep people away from going in that section, but we would like to close that loop. And then, you know, we considered wood decking, but of course, during the pandemic, wood was even worse. It was like crazy expensive. So, but that is something that we would like to be able to do. But even more exciting is our second floor. So if you haven't, you have to come down and at least see the outside of the building. Our sister building sits right next door, which is the carpenter shop. And so the first floor is occupied with all of our museum exhibits, and the second floor is right now completely empty, and it has been. We secured money at the end of 2019 that will pay for vertical access. So right now, we have our construction guys working on putting in elevator shafts in the front and the back, and then a stairway for another means of egress. That will be done at the end of December. And again, it'll just give us access in the hopes that we can take some of our items out of storage and save some operational costs and put them up onto the second floor. After that, there would be 2 more phases to the project. We imagine that it would probably take over the course of 5 years to raise the funds, kicking off a capital campaign shortly. And, you know, the campaign right now is about $8 million that we're looking at total. And the second phase would essentially be kind of like an open plan concept, just to generate some revenue for a couple of years before we could get some more money to fit it out completely. But what we hear a lot from our visitors is that, is this it? You only have 1 floor? Is there another building? What else? So we are fortunate that we do have the outdoor space, because that's an extension of our exhibits. But what we would like to do is expand the story of industry. So we would like to have the story of heavy industry on the first floor and light industry on the top floor. And then, I mean, I can go on with all of our exciting ideas to try to get more families and STEM programming, and but I don't want to take up too much of your time. But that's kind of what we're working on right now. And I do have to say, sorry, I just want to flip back real quick, is our numbers at the museum attendance. I thought this was like super interesting. So on the first slide here, if you look at January through August, now this is, you know, ignoring 2020 completely. If you look at 2019 compared to this year, we're down 30%. But if you take a look at just May through August, we're only down 7%. So you're only talking about a couple hundred people, over 3,000, 4,000 people coming through the door in a matter of 4 months. So that's really exciting for us. I think that there is the trend, you know, people I talked to, Kathy McCracken at Wind Creek and, you know, Historic Bethlehem and all the other sites, they are seeing their numbers tick up. But what I think is happening is that the word's finally getting out there. It's been 5 years now. We have, you know, all the things that are happening that are going into the press. And I really, honestly, there's no way we would be able to do this based off of earned revenue. Not at all. So just want to thank you guys again, all of your support, and just a little plug at the bottom, which is our gala. And it's held in a very unique space, which is one of our board members, Laura Bennett. It's at her home, and we had it there 2 years ago, and it was a really neat experience. So you have some invites there, and welcome you to come down to the museum anytime as my guest. Just send me an email, let me know, and I would love to arrange for a private guided tour for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Tara? Yes, Mr. Rinsky.
Where is the LaRoche estate?
It's on Center Street, right by the Presbyterian Church.
Oh, okay. That's where I thought it was.
Yeah, it's
they have
set
a
back,
little
you can't see
They
it.
have a little sign there.
Yes.
And then it's like a driveway in the back, right?
Correct, yes.
All right.
Any other questions? Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, thank you.
And if you haven't been down there, it is awesome to go down and check out. You really should go down there and check it out. It's pretty impressive. And it's just not the Bethlehem steel, too. They have a lot of, it's, you know, more than just the steel industrial-wise. So thank you again, Tara.
Thank you.
And next, I believe we're going to do a presentation from Via from the Lehigh Valley. I'll get through that.
Yes, we have with us today as a request from I believe it was Commissioner Kusick at last month's meeting, we were discussing the VIA Marathon, and there were concerns of how that's gone and where the revenue sources are coming from. So today we have with us from VIA, Lisa Walkowitz. Did I say it right? Yes. From VIA, she is the new president and CEO. Lisa?
I was going to ask you if you couldn't say via the Lehigh Valley, my last name was off the book, so it was going to be terrible. It took me a year to learn how to say it. So my name is Lisa Walkowitz. I'm with VIA of the Lehigh Valley. I'm the president and CEO. I've been with the organization for 15 years, but serving in the executive director and CEO capacity for the last 3. So I know that you had some questions because we have participated with the SIP program and the hotel tax program related specifically to the marathon event. And we announced recently that we are no longer hosting the marathon event.
Yes, Mr. Kuzic.
Sure. I guess, you know, I raised the issue. The marathon was a well-attended, it was a growing event, and, you know, I understand that, you know, last year, because of COVID, it was an issue, and, you know, this year it's been iffy, but one of the things that it definitely did was it did draw hotel room stays, and that was the reason why we had to increase the hotel tax money over the years. I guess my question is, has there been any attempt to find another sponsor for the marathon or move it, you know, under another umbrella organization? Can you address that at all?
Sure.
And why did you decide not to bring it back?
Yep. So the why is COVID. So when we looked at over the last, however long it's been since March 2020, our mission is to serve people with disabilities. And so when COVID hit, it really gave us the opportunity to look at all of the services that we provide and really focus in on our core, the delivery of our core mission, which is to provide services for people with disabilities, and look at things that were pulling us away from that. And so we also recently sold our thrift store, which is in Fountain Hill. So when we looked at those two, there were 2 events, the marathon event and also a basketball event that we hosted.
Yeah.
And then our VIA thrift store. And when we looked at resources invested into those, and that's from a human resources standpoint, and then return on investment, and the fundraising capacity, it just didn't match up when we were looking at what we need to do in a year. So we do about, our revenue is at $10 million annually. We raise $1 million of that annually through traditional development and grant writing. And the marathon and the basketball event just did not contribute enough back to that overall fundraising to continue our investment in it, to continue running the event.
Okay. Again, then moving forward, I know that legions of kids who played high school basketball looked forward to that event.
That's
It
not
would-
going away.
Yeah, it's not?
It's not.
Who,
So-
have you secured a sponsor, and what's the future of the?
Sure.
It used to be called the Lark game when I was in
Because-
high school.
Well, right, because we had been LARC before we were
Yeah.
VIA. So the basketball event has taken on, it used to be run by the community, completely run by the community. There were a group of basketball people that were completely invested in it. They also ran the Lehigh Valley Basketball Hall of Fame. And those people kind of matured and aged out of wanting to participate in events, which is why VIA took it over completely 15 years ago when I started at VIA. So we're now at the place where the event has become very large for us to run. And at the same thing, it just did not contribute back enough to the organization. So when we decided that we were going to no longer participate or no longer host the event, there was a group of community people that stepped up and they are going to be taking it over. So it's Doug Snyder from William Allen. He just retired as the head coach of William Allen last year.
Oh.
He's in the Hall of Fame, coached at Princeton or played at Princeton. Neil Novak, who is in the Hall of Fame. He just retired as a principal of Whitehall Elementary School. Mary Lisicki, who is on our board of directors, but is also a Lehigh Valley Basketball Hall of Fame member.
I think she played at Princeton or something, right?
Georgetown.
Okay.
Yep, that's right. I won't tell her that. And then a number of other people from the basketball community, Pete Koval, who coaches at DeSales University, have stepped up and really are looking to make this event back to what it had been, which was a community-driven, community-supported event. And also Tracy Sear, who is
very heavily invested in the basketball community. She's been coaching kids since she was 20. And then stepped back from coaching many years ago when she had a son with autism. Now he is 21 years old, and she's ready to step back into coaching. And she started coaching again, and her oldest daughter is now the head coach at Southern Lehigh High School. So it's taken, the basketball event took this turn from where it was very community-driven to being a part of VIA, and now it's going back to being a community-driven event. And we think that it will actually be more successful that way. So the basketball community is excited about taking it back over.
Yeah, has that made news yet, or are you
No,
making news
they're not
here?
ready. They're not
Oh,
ready.
so
They're
you're
not ready to make
you're
news yet.
you're starting to make news here. No, I'm glad to hear that, because I know that for, in the Lehigh Valley, that's become a really big event, and high school basketball
Well, and
community really looks forward to that.
The other two people that are involved in it are Keith Groller from the Morning Call and Mike Zambelli from Service Electric. So when they are ready to go public with it, they're going to go public with it.
Oh, okay, so.
But they're excited about it.
Yeah, so I'm very glad to hear that. And then I guess the question is there any hope for the marathon? Any organizations looking to potentially take that over?
I haven't heard that anyone is interested. We did put feelers out through the Race Management Corporation that we had partnered with to see if there was local interest. They have a lot of strong connections to the Lehigh Valley, and they thought when we first spoke with them back in March 2021 that there might be. But so far, no one has stepped up to say, we want to take over the event. And I think with the current climate, quite honestly, with the St. Luke's Half Marathon just announced 2 days ago that they're canceling their event for 2021. I don't know if right now people are thinking, hey, I want to get into sponsoring a marathon.
Well,
But we have put it out there that we would help them along the way if that's something that somebody would choose to do.
yeah, and as you know, these events, we tend to think of them as one day, but like a year's worth of planning goes into these one-day events.
Yep.
So, if the goal is to bring these back, I would hope that there's someone out there that you reach out. I don't know, it used to be Runner's World used to be located in Emmaus.
Well, now they're
were-
right here in Easton. So.
Well, and that might be a place to look, because I think, again, that was a good draw for our local hotels, and I'm hopeful that, that can be brought back. And as far as the thrift store, well, that was always a great trip for Lehigh University students when they needed furniture. So I'm sorry to see that go, but I understand that operating a retail thrift store, I can see where that became difficult. What's going to become of the building? I know it's not in Northampton County, but
It has been sold. I know that the gentleman who is using it has looked at a couple different development options. Some include a mix of apartment space and retail space, but he hasn't settled on what he wants to do with it yet.
okay. And just to your organization, what do you see as the vision moving forward now that you've moved away from those
How much time do you have?
high profile?
I will not, I will keep it brief. So I've said this to my team repeatedly. With COVID, there have been a whole lot of silver linings for us. Having the opportunity to look at our core services and really determine as an agency that this is where we have to focus. We have to focus on delivering vital services to people with disabilities. And while some of our services retracted, we had to close a lot of our services because of forced closures. We ended up growing a number of our services, and some of them are at more than 126% or 128% of what they were before the pandemic. So I look at COVID, unfortunately for us, as an opportunity to be stronger than we were before, because we are continuing to grow. We've developed new contracts and new partnerships with organizations and over the last 18 months, and we've been fortunately very fortunate, very successful. But because of a whole, because of a whole lot of dedication and work from our team, just going after every opportunity that we can.
Yeah, and just, I'm Michelle Grasso, I'm Vice President of Development and Communications at VIA. One of the things that we found is by not having these events, we brought over those sponsors. For example, Service Electric sponsored both, well, we had a golf tournament, which we also ended a while ago, because once again, the return on investment wasn't there. And the marathon and the basketball event, that $25,000, they now just give us $25,000 for our services.
Wow.
Penn Teledata Network gave us $4,000. Now they're just giving us $4,000. Your Conic agency is just giving us the money. St. Luke's, we've created other partnerships. Askeladd B. Braun. What has been came out of this is that they care about our mission of helping people with developmental and intellectual disabilities, and that's what it's all about. And since I've been there 3 years, and I was at Meals on Wheels of Lehigh County for 9.5, and my kind of fundraising is going after the grants that are there, major donors. Yesterday, we just sent out a newsletter. He called me, this major donor, I want to send you a check for $5,000 because it tells the story of what it means, what we do for the families that we serve. My oldest son has autism and gets services from VIA because I believe so strongly in our agency. And I know what it's like to be a parent and to have a child with a disability, and what happened with COVID when we had to close, and what that impact was on these families. I was walking on the D&L Canal and met one whose son has autism. Imagine being a 70-year-old parent with a 45-year-old son, and our services aren't there because we had to close, and what we're going to, so we went to teleservices, we did everything we could, we checked in with our families. This is what we need to do. That's what we started in 1952. That's our mission. So, we're going out trying to get more employers to be involved with us. We've got people who want to work. So if you know any jobs, we just did a new landing page on our website for business solutions, telling them the different things we can offer businesses. Volunteer opportunities for our clients. It's really just for us core mission right now. So.
No, and you know what, I appreciate you coming. I think because when people read the headlines about the loss of those high-profile events, I think there was a lot of concern that there may be something else with the organization as far as your other mission. So I appreciate you coming and bringing that to our attention.
And we'd love for somebody to take the marathon. Just, Runner's World stopped doing the marathon, and that is their mission. So, it's like we'd love to, but what I think Lisa said, when you started.
Oh, yeah, when I started doing the race 15 years ago, there were 3 marathons in Pennsylvania. Pre-COVID, there were 30. So market share has changed significantly. You can find a marathon just by throwing a rock in any direction. So the market had changed as well.
And one of the things also is the marathoners, they came from all over, and we so appreciate Northampton County, what you've done, the support that you gave us for the marathon. And it did bring the tourism, and that's wonderful. But when we can't even ask those people for money because they're out of state, and we have to register in the states to ask them for money, they don't really care because they're not local. The people that care about our mission are Northampton County, Lehigh County, and the other surroundings. So that's, just where we're going, right? We're very strong, though. I just don't want you to think we're not. We're in a better place, actually, so.
No, I just want to appreciate your honesty and stating that, because I think it's important, and I think COVID did that for a lot of people. We had to step back and take a look at what we need, what we don't, what's important, and the people that you serve are important, and those dollars really do need to go to them. So while it's a loss to the tourism industry, it sounds like it's a gain for you, and that's wonderful to hear. And thank you for all the work you do for our constituents.
Absolutely, thank you.
And thanks so much for your support. And we are going to be applying for the AR, the American Rescue Plan, and Norco grant as well, just so you are. Just so you're prepared. I've been talking to Sarah a lot, so.
Well, and if you have any other questions, or would like to stop by for a tour of our facility, we are open for that. I can talk you through that if that's something that you're interested in. My business card is in your packet, so please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, we did have, Lamont did come and visit us. We've had representatives, state representatives. Senator Casey came. We were doing more and more, but then we got closed. But, now with, most people are vaccinated and we have the mask wearing, so we would love for you to come see. Not right now, because we're just finishing up replacing our roof, which was through grants, and it's a mess.
Mr.
But-
Lott, could I ask a follow-up question? What other kinds of fundraising are you doing besides Direct Ask? Are you having other kinds of events that we should know about, or?
Not right now. Most of our fundraising is more traditional fundraising, grant requests and direct asks. we have talked about doing an event, but quite honestly, right now with the climate of how events are being managed right now, it's not something that we're ready for yet.
So
Yeah.
to be continued, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes.
one of the things that we have, which my vision is, because of, I do believe events should be mission-driven, we do have a participant, a spring ball. And that is like this highlight of our, the people we serve's, year, that, and usually our holiday party as well. So I'm thinking, we've been talking to Olympus, we're talking to Air Products, we're talking to other companies that I have started getting money to pay for that, but maybe make it more of a community event. Maybe do like have the business award and a, fun, like make it more of a bigger community event that people can come and volunteer and really be part of it. So that's an
Keep
idea.
us informed, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We did have a presentation on this already.
The thing that was on the agenda next was the application for funds from Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, which has been pulled from the Department of Community and Economic Development. So we're gonna move on to Wilson Borough 101st year of celebration to the hotel tax 2000 grant. We did have a presentation on it
Last time.
Do you have anything on that?
No, it's from Don.
Just to read the resolution, if you want, the mayor of Wilson was here and did a presentation on the centennial at last month's meeting.
Yeah, I just wonder why this is being pulled out separately, because it's a special event and it has to be heard as a separate resolution, because if it's getting hotel tax money,
Because-
why isn't it considered in the pool of everything
Because
else?
they're going to need their funding prior to the
Prior.
rest of the awards.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
I figured there was a reason, I just didn't know what it was.
These will be for approval tonight at your council meeting. These are the next list of the small businesses to be considered for funding. And the lists are attached.
We're not gonna discuss too much about that because unless you have a presentation on the small businesses. That's the same thing.
It's the same procedure. It's just a new list of first-time applicants to be funded.
First time?
They're all
First time.
First
They're all
timers.
first time. Yeah, we
Done.
didn't get to duplicates yet.
Oh,
These are
I
still
thought-
all new, never been funded.
oh, I thought I saw a Jello on the list before.
What was it, I
No.
couldn't hear that, what?
Chiropractor, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
What was stated was these are 12 first-time awardees, not anybody coming back for a second grant. We're gonna roll into that, there was a date given, but that's not where we're at now. These are first-time grants on this list, and people get up to 2 years of performance.
Correct. No, just to mention to the rest of council that Council President Fargo Hefner participated in this small business grant meeting, and also Mr. Heckman.
I just have to say that whatever it takes, cleaning is the most attractive name, and they can call me directly if they would like my business, because that's a great name. And after yesterday, I'm sure they're going to be very, very busy.
Yes. Any questions about the business list?
No, but thank you again to your team and what you've done, because the meeting was very productive. You guys are really excellent at, along with council, our
Fiscal.
chamber, I have to say
Oh,
chamber,
I see.
at really weeding out who was here before, who looks a little bit maybe not legitimate business, doesn't live in the county. I think there's now a barrage of people trying to take a swipe at this money, and you guys have done excellent due diligence in making sure that that doesn't happen. And I want to thank you for that,
No, thank you.
and the
It's-
chamber
it's-
especially.
It's been a very interesting process, I will say. Some of these applications are starting to become laughable.
Yeah.
But we're getting really good at digging in forensics right now, so.
Wow.
There is a lot of research that goes behind these.
Yeah.
Our money man gets involved, our economic development, the chamber's very involved in this. One question, the chamber, originally, we were gonna, on the, CARES Act, they were gonna get a fee for it, they kicked that money back, gave it back to the community, to the business community. I believe this round, they're just doing this to help out the community, is that correct, or are they still getting a fee for this?
No, it's going to be the same process as the last time. They will still be getting a fee through the foundation.
Okay, very good. And last time they took that fee and kicked it right back to small businesses anyway, so it ended up, the fee we paid the chamber ended up going directly to the cause we're trying to solve, or the problem we're trying to solve by this money anyway, so it kind of really worked well. You could make an argument that 100% of that money went out to businesses with no administration costs other than our county costs, because they gave the money. But anyway, if anybody else has anything else, yes, Mr. McGee.
Question, so I know the chamber's involved, and I know, so the grant process, they go to the chamber first, they fill it out, then it comes, do they vet anything at all, or is it passed through? Does everything get passed through?
Honestly, most of it gets passed through. They are kind of the data dump, if you will, where the applications all go through their data portals, and then they kind of kick that over to us, and we kind of weed through it in our DCED office, and then we have the discussions in the committee meetings where we highlight, this one is questionable, we need additional documents. This one is, considered red category because they've already been funded. This one is red because it's in Lehigh County or New Jersey or wherever they're from. So it is an extensive, time-consuming process, but we have to do it so we can avoid mistakes and giving wrong people the money.
Oh, no, that's fine, I appreciate that, the clarification, and I actually had a question, and then Kevin started answering it. And the second thing is, now are they proactively reaching out like they were in the beginning? Still?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, still aggressive
And there's
marketing,
there's a link on their
emails.
website, and there's a link on our website,
Yes.
and it's out there.
Yes.
And then my last question is, how much more is coming, or we don't know? In this kind of category, where it's directly helping the small businesses, and it's, the max of 15,000 or whatever.
For the new businesses, we have maybe another list or two. I think that process is starting to wind down. We've got some more cleanup work to do because it does require, we send the information to the chamber, this one needs a callback. This one is missing a signature on their W-9 because we can't pay anybody until we have that W-9. So it's a lot of contact points where first they might get an email, but then they get a phone call. And so, we are officially taking applications now for repeat businesses. But if any new business falls into a filter that hasn't been funded before, they will move to the top of the priority list.
And one last thing, a comment, if I may. You guys are doing a fantastic job, because I can't imagine the amount of workload that your department is doing, in addition to what the chamber's doing, in addition to what you guys are doing over there. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Wilson Borough.
Yeah, I'll move that over.
That's very nice.
Thank you.
Nice job, Mr. Lot.
Yes. for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
What's her name?
Yeah, thank you for that. She helped me, so.
And I'm surprised, because normally she likes to pronounce it different.
I told her,
She
I
did
told
tell
her, I
me
said
that,
the real
but-
Polish way.
I thought I wanted to introduce you properly. No. Thank you. Oh, absolutely.
I remember
Looking
that
forward
already.
to your new applications now. Yeah. So you'll be